Welcome back again to the channel. Today we are so excited to be checking out basic workers' rights, British versus American. If you're new here, please consider liking, subscribe, and let's get right into today's reaction.
Growing up in the States, I had to show up to work regardless of how sick I was. I mean, unless I was absolutely dying, and even then I had to call around to find replacements, which is what happened.
Excuse us, sorry. Did you just say really?
Yeah.
It happens here.
No, I know, but like I felt like over there things are way better. You know, the health system is kind of like, I don't know whether you understand what I'm saying.
All right.
So hearing them say that they face the same thing we face is shocking to me.
I'm not really surprised about this recent CNN report saying many Americans show up to work very sick regardless of how far along Omicron is now spreading. Doesn't surprise me in the slightest. If you're from any other country and you're like, why the heck are Americans like that? Strap yourselves right on in. In today's video, we're going to be talking a little bit about the differences between US and UK culture in regards to leaving work and work benefits. And if you're new to my channel, hello, my name is Evan Ediger, and this is kind of what I do. I'm British American. I like making videos about these interesting differences. And well, recently, last week, I made a video about how I got my first job in the UK, and a lot of you wanted to know more about those interesting differences between working for a US company in the US versus a UK company in the UK. And also a little bit of intermingling. So that's where this video came from. Now, I wasn't joking in the intro. No matter how sick I was, when I was working at a Pizza Hut, a food service restaurant, I was expected to show up to work or find a replacement, which is something that most people in the UK, when I told them this, said, well, isn't that what the hiring manager is supposed to do? Yeah, I guess that makes a lot of sense. He should be the one kind of balancing. Why is it down to the individual employee? Well, it's because when you're sick in the US, that is actually your fault. You're guilty of this, and you need to pay the company back by doing another job and finding someone else to replace. That's just the culture. Whereas because I was brought up like this, my first couple jobs in the UK, I showed up incredibly ill during days in which I was sick and was told to go home, which blew my mind. What do you mean? What? I already showed up. I'm coughing all over the place.
Okay, that's funny because in the US, the work ethics is actually, I think they need to look into their work ethics. It's actually draining in the sense that even if you're sick, you need to look for a replacement. Sickness is something that is actually inevitable.
The question is, are you the one paying your replacement from your salary, or is it the company footing that bill? Sickness is something, it's like saying, I should be responsible for natural disaster. Like, who does that? Oh, but then again, I would deserve that comment. There's a comment I want to
but
make,
I got work to do, right? No, I was sent home and I could get healthy. What? But one of the most interesting aspects of this whole thing was that I was paid for when I was sick, which was the first time I'd ever experienced that. And most Americans will tend to agree. What happens is when you are ill and you have to ask the boss for the day off because you're sick, a lot of times that comes out of holiday pay. Holiday. You see, most UK companies have something in place for this, in the inevitable likelihood that an employee is sick. If you do get sick for longer than 3 days, the government actually can step in and ensure you get a little bit under £100 per week, plus whatever your employer agrees to give you until you get better, which is a nice little thing to fall upon. Now, in the sad circumstance,
actually here in Nigeria, you when you're sick, you can take your there's something called sick leave. Actually, you don't have to be critically ill to go to the office. It's not like a major thing, because I've done IT and you know, NYC service, so I've seen staff actually said they are sick and they didn't come to work, but those things aren't, I don't think they deduct it from the salary, because
well, it depends on the employer.
But when government is the employer, I don't think they are going to deduct the money from your salary, because government,
that's government, you know. Government has what we call, even when you call in sick, right? Now the sick is kind of like, how would I put it? Is a limited kind of call.
Yeah.
Now, if let's say you call in sick right now, because it's a government-owned office, they have things like interims, people like you guys, ITs, that can do the labor work.
Yeah. But for a private,
do you understand?
And you know, my mom has a restaurant.
Yeah.
People calling sick, but I think she normally slash the salary. Do you get? She do not give them full salary, but they don't need to provide somebody to represent them.
Yeah.
She has a private owned, you know, organization she run, but she actually slash the salary, or sometimes do not. If the sick and leave is actually longer
Longer
than, she
than
do not pay for the services. But you don't need to necessarily need to come to the office very sick. And if you are
yeah.
sick, she actually send you home. I think in the case when she slash the salary is when she know you are sick, like she sees you are sick, and she sends you home. Because currently one of our staff is like, I think she's ill, but she had to send money for medical expenses, and although probably from the goodness of her heart, let me just
Yeah, yeah,
say.
yeah. So that's why
Circumstance
it
you are
depends on
sick
the
for a very
employer.
long
Yeah.
time, you can go to get a doctor's note, but as we have nationalized healthcare, that doesn't cost anything. On the other hand, in the US, the land of the free, there is no federally mandated sick pay.
sarcastic.
So regardless of if you're sick for 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, you are unpaid for the most part, which isn't really the best situation. And especially if you're
Yeah.
someone
No
that is
wonder you
living
come
paycheck
in
to
sick.
paycheck, which as of March 2022 is 64% of Americans. Nearly 2 out of every 3 Americans is living paycheck to paycheck. I don't really think you can
Wow.
blame someone for going to work when they're ill if financially they're just playing the cards that they've been dealt as best as they can. Also, given the fact that a lot of American employers demand a doctor's note if you are ill for more than 1 or 2 days, which is then an entire
1 or
extra
2
day you need to
days.
take off to go to your doctor. And if you don't have great insurance, for instance, when I was working at different retail restaurants and things, well, that's $75 a session. So now I've lost essentially a day or two's wages, plus I'm freaking ill still, and I have to heal. It's just not a good situation. And the thing about this issue is, it's really not political in the slightest. In fact, 94% of self-identified liberals and 81% of self-identified conservatives agree that paid sick days should be a basic human worker right. But then
Yeah.
if such a huge grouping of these two sides that usually war all the time finally agree on it, why do we not have any change? Well, there's an even bigger percentage of corporations and employers that really don't give a shit about what you think, and well, they have a lot of money and they'd like to keep it that way. And so they've successfully lobbied to ensure that no change has happened. Does that sound familiar to any other part of the US law? Almost all of it, actually. Yes, it's sad. And sadly, as is the
That's
case in
sad.
most of these
Really
things,
sad.
the people with the largest amount of money have the largest voice in US politics, and so can shout down the massive majority of people who just want this basic right, so that they can have more money, which is, of course, the American dream. Now, given that this is the sad state of affairs, most Americans have
Very
found a loophole
sarcastic
on
as
how
well.
to have paid sick leave, and sadly, you probably know where this is going. Well, it comes out of their holiday pay. One of the reasons why Americans don't travel or go on holiday as much as anyone else in Western civilization, well, they use them for sick days. Now, regardless of whether or not you get paid time off during your next trip abroad
There's
or to the local
substitute for
shops,
it.
today's video sponsor, Revolut, can actually help you with that. Revolut is a global financial super app used by 18 million plus people around the world for all things money. Spending, saving, investing. That's Revolut. Now, in terms of spending, with a lot of different retailers out there are massive discounts you can get, up to 40% just by doing your daily shop. And in terms of spending,
It's
Revolut has so many
bad.
great budgeting tools so you can find out, oh, am I spending too much money on takeaway this month? And possibly curb your spending there. With Revolut, you can spend abroad like a local anywhere in the world thanks to their excellent exchange rates and £1 welcome bonus to any of you who download the app via my link in the description. So thank you very much. Holiday pay. Now, most people realize that Americans don't travel as much as many of their European counterparts. And a lot of
Yeah,
Americans will say,
for the sick
well,
leave.
it's because the country is so big and there's not many places to visit outside of like Mexico and Canada. But usually as soon as somebody makes this argument, Australia enters the chat. But it has more to do with the fact that there are no federal protections for holiday pay in the States at all. I don't know how many times
Oh.
I've told this story on this channel, but I'll tell it again. I worked 5 years at a Pizza Hut working 30 hours a week, and I earned 0 days paid holiday, whereas I worked under 20 hours in London and managed to get 2 days a month. I was blown away with how I was able to earn anything, considering that I'd worked 5 years and hadn't even gotten a single raise from my $2.13 an hour they were paying me. Somehow,
Wow.
legally, they didn't have to. How was that legal though? Well, federally, there aren't any laws about holiday pay. The government thought it'd be better to just leave that up to the employers. And as we all know, employers always have the best intentions. They don't. Now, my state decided to have it so that once you work over a certain amount of time, in my case 30 hours, you are entitled to some paid holiday. However, they made it a step function, meaning you have to cross over that threshold of 30. There isn't a gradual increase like, say, the way we pay taxes. And so that's just going to allow capitalistic companies to be capitalistic companies, to ensure I never was allowed to work over 33 hours a week, just so they could make sure I averaged out under that and they would never ever have to pay me a single day of paid holiday. That's just what companies are going to do if you let them do that. That's the point of government, to step in and give people the basic rights that they're entitled. I had a friend that worked at Google in the UK and got 30 days of paid holiday, moved to the US, and lost half of them. Because, well, 15 days, that's quite a lot in the US. Well, in the UK, we are mandated to have at least 28 days of paid holiday. That's 5.6 weeks of paid holiday, including bank holidays. If an employer wants to, they can give you more than that or less, but that's just how it is. Though, to be fair, the US Department of Labor has said that 76% of private sector employees got paid holiday, and the average of that was 10. Well, as there's no federal law, employers don't have to, and so they won't unless they're forced to, which is why it's good that in certain states, they actually have. In states like Vermont, for every 52 hours you work, you get 1 hour of paid holiday. And for those of you that enjoy math, that means that working 40 hours a week in the state of Vermont, every single week, at the end of the year, you earn 5 days of paid holiday. 40 hours. That's horrible. And of those 5 days, if we know that the average American is sick 3.9 days of the year and they don't get paid sick.
Sorry, let's point out something, right? The only people that get paid during holidays here are the politicians. Let's be frank.
And
don't have that.
some higher government authority, like you know.
Those are politicians.
Okay.
Like those ones that, like, you know, the way you support a certain how do you call it, a certain party, do you understand, then you get to enjoy that benefit. But if let me say I'm against this party right now, but they will do everything in their power to make sure I don't enjoy those benefits. So it is based on political reason. Here where he said here that it is not based on political agenda, just that the fact that the federal government is have not yet stepped into that situation. Yeah. But here there is nothing like paid holiday. I have worked in so many different places. If I'm traveling, it is from my salary.
Yeah.
Like, not that they are giving it to me. Let me say, if I'm supposed to work 28 days in a month, 26 days in a month, and I take 3 days off, they will calculate it that I only work 22 days or something like that. 23 days, which is very wrong. Sorry for that pause.
Sick days, well, of those 5 days in Vermont, you've got 1 left. If you've got an average amount of sickness, congratulations. Where are you gonna go? Dorney Park? It's a bit far. And all of these things together really show how the culture is in terms of when you ask your boss for a day off in the US and they act as if, even though you're fully entitled to it, you're hurting them and you are doing them a disservice to take the holiday that you're legally allowed to have in certain states. It's just such a weird contrast to countries like Germany, in which their employers force them to go on holiday because they understand that a well-rested employee is going to be a better one, make better decisions, and be happier in general. I mean, the UK isn't the greatest thing, but I'm thankful that we do have those 28 days of paid holiday so that people can take off, people can enjoy their lives and not just work every single day of their lives.
Wait a minute. You know, I've been hearing the holiday. I was thinking it's all just public holidays and the likes of them. When he's talking about holiday, like private, like
that's what I'm talking about. That you take a trip, you go, you go rest.
None of it. Like, how dare you take it? What? Even here, is not in our. I don't think it's in our law or government or constitution at all to take holidays. Yeah,
holidays are your own consequences.
Yeah, you be tagged as being lazy. Actually, what? And
lives. Now, as a quick asterisk here, there are some companies in the US and the UK that both employ this new magical thing called unlimited time off. Unlimited paid holiday. It sounds like a dream. I was offered a job like this once, and that was the first thing I had a question about. I went, how does that work? Unlimited time off? I can just take off? And he was like, yeah, you have unlimited, as opposed to like 28 days or 29, you have unlimited. So I said, so I'm just gonna get hired and then just start going on holiday. And he went, well, you do have to make sure that you work enough, like you feel like you've gotten enough done. And I was like, well, that's not unlimited then, now is it? Now, truth be told, I did go on holiday way more than any other employee, but I was a rare case. In fact, the whole concept of unlimited paid holiday, it is found, means that people take off less because they don't realize how much they have. If you have 28 days and you've spent 14, by the end of the year, sometimes you want to just make sure you spend those final days. If it's unlimited, you don't actually have an end limit, and so most people will spend less. So there it is, companies giving you something that looks like it's beautiful. It is a Trojan horse. It's actually so you take off less. Classic capitalism. Now obviously sometimes people die. Wow, we're getting real dark. Bereavement leave is something that you would really expect at the end of the day for both countries to have, but they don't. The UK does have a law, however, if you do lose a dependent, which I'm thankful does include things like housemate, which the US's does not, but if you do lose a dependent in the UK, the law states you're to be given a reasonable amount of time off to grieve. Reasonable. That's the law. You must be reasonable. And it's odd that this type of thing just works in the UK. In the law, it says, be.
I remember when my mom died, right? So my sister then, she was working with this organization, so she needed to take some time off, right? So when she went there and told them this is what happened, normally they kind of like mourn with her.
Condolence and everything.
Yeah. So when she was like, she needed to travel for the burial and everything, do you know how many days they gave her?
How many?
3.
3 days. Ah.
3. And let me actually shock you all. In that 3 days, she's supposed to travel on the Friday, Saturday, which is not work, Sunday, which is not work, had to resume on a Monday. Like when she told us that, right? Me being me, I was so pissed off. I had to call the organization myself and said no, she's not resuming work till the next week. She needs time to grieve. Like, for real, a reasonable amount of time. Do you want them to come to work and be psychopathic?
Being moody.
Doing the work without excitement, doing the work with sorry for that pause, please.
Be reasonable. In the US, I don't think that would ever work. As much as I don't really feel protected by a clause saying it has to be reasonable, in the UK they do kind of follow through with that most of the time. In the US though, the only thing we really have is the Family and Medical Leave Act, which allows for 12 weeks of leave-protected unpaid leave. Which is good, you can come back to your job at the end of it, and ta-da, you've still got it. However, there's so many asterisks revolving around this FMLA, or My Life America Act, there's a big chance it doesn't even apply to you to get this unpaid leave, and you're going to have to work regardless of what you're going through. Do you work for a company with fewer than 50 people? Well, congratulations, you do not qualify. You have to keep working through your grief. Did one of your loved ones wait to pass away until after you got your new job? You're also not entitled to any leave-protected unpaid leave. Nope, you've got to come to work grieving because you have to stay at the same company for at least a year before that can happen, which is a reason why I'm assuming most people are afraid to leave jobs, because that transitionary period, there are so many benefits the government is no longer giving you. So if you work for a company with fewer than 50 people, or you've recently switched jobs, the FMLA just does not apply to you. And in fact, on the official website for the FMLA, it states, if you know ahead of time that you'll be taking leave for a new child or a planned medical treatment for yourself or a family member, you are required to give your employer 30 days advance notice. In the case of planned medical treatment, you must try to schedule the medical treatment when it will not unduly disrupt your employer's business. So, next time you plan on being sick or plan on having someone die or birthed or anything else, make sure it does not inconvenience your employer. That is in the US law. And so the difference here being that in the UK, employers are asked to give a reasonable time off to their employees when they're going through grief. And in the US, employees are asked to give their employer reasonable time off when the employee is going through grief. It's just a country for the haves, not the have-nots. The employees have so little protection, you have to ask for permission for one of your relatives to die. What the And the last of the big leaves we're gonna be talking about today, the big one, the elephant in the room. No offense to your mother, but maternity leave and paternity leave. What was that segue? We've all seen the map before. The fact that the US has 0 days of paid maternity leave is still disgusting. How it's not protected at all is disgusting. In the UK, employees can take up to 52 weeks of maternity leave, and their jobs are protected for when they come back. And of those 52 weeks, the first 6 are paid at 90% of their salary. The next 33 are paid at 90% or £156.66, whichever is smaller, and then the next weeks are actually unpaid. But of that period, you still have your job protected, you still have some money coming in, and you can take care of your child during the moments in which it needs you most. Now, when it comes to paternity leave, the UK definitely falls flat here, only providing fathers with 1 to 2 weeks of paid paternity leave, and of that...
Actually, yeah, in Nigeria, paternity leave is just came out. Like, it's something that was, I think when I was doing my internship, we were actually celebrating they gave them paternity leave. Like, it's now it's something they newly introduced into the system.
Because I've never actually heard of it.
It has always been maternity leave, but paternity leave is not like a thing. It just recently,
the maternity leave,
so actually
I've not
like
heard
2
of
to
it.
3 years ago, it just was introduced to the system, and all the men in the office were literally, yeah, thank God, thank God.
What I want to get is this maternity leave, because when you talk about maternity leave, right? Yes, I do know that when you want to give birth, right? Now, some ladies are allowed to work until they can no longer work with their pregnancy, right? Then they are given, like, I think, if I'm not mistaken, some days to go and recover and everything. But me, I'm feeling like maternity leave should last more than, at least after the childbirth, should be up to like 5 months, if I'm not mistaken. Because I know it might be too much. I've never given birth to any
Child?
person before, so I don't really know the strain it has on the human body. But I feel like that is a lot of strain, and the body needs time to do
heal.
what? To heal. So, but here, I usually see mothers after giving birth, in less than a month, I see them back in the...
Oh, it's not less than a month. They give them like 2-3 months, but I think they give them some, at least reasonable time.
Anyway, I'm saying based on the one I have seen. I've never
Okay.
seen any maternity leave last more than a month. In my own opinion, though.
Of that, it's that £156.66 or 90% of your salary, whichever is smaller. But it is 2 weeks that you're allowed to take off, and you also get 2 prenatal appointments before the birth of your child, so if you need to take off to check on how the baby's doing in the mama's belly, you can do that. Now, when it comes to the US, do you remember that Family and Medical Leave Act we were talking about earlier? That's the only thing the US has in place for expectant mothers. Unpaid leave. This means as soon as employees are finished going into labor, they need to go back into the labor force because there's no other way of affording to take care of that child. There's nothing there to protect them. And with just how expensive US hospital bills can be when it comes to having a child there, it's no surprise how many reports are coming out of mothers going back to work within a couple days after just having a child.
I was risking my life. 1 in 4 years when I returned to work, 2 weeks. What?
Because I have seen this in this country. In our own country, I have seen it. That's why I'm actually surprised that you're saying that most of them have 3 months. I've never
Within
seen 3
2
months.
weeks, she was working 45-hour week as a waitress, doing night shift. She freaking had,
When I said it, you thought I was joking.
she just had a baby.
It happens in this
What
country.
in the case of 6 session?
I think the side you experienced was the good side. Like I used to say, everything in this country is politically tied.
Tuned, yeah.
So I think the side you experienced was the side that have already
But
solved
the law is for everybody.
that. Not here. Not here. Not here.
True.
To be frank.
I'm speaking like I'm foreign to this country. It's actually
Yeah.
saying the truth. It's not
Because
for
when you
all,
said
it's for
there is
some.
maternity leave, and I'm like,
And
no,
according to what you say, the law is for who haves and not
who have not.
That's true.
Child in America. So
Can be
wrapping this
true
up,
as
sick pay,
humans.
holiday pay, bereavement pay, and maternity leave are basic workers' rights that people in the UK and around the world get to enjoy, whereas people in the US just don't. The only way an American worker can hope to
What's so
get any of
special
these
about the
basic
US?
workers' rights is if by chance their employer just happens to, out of the goodness of their heart, provide it, which doesn't happen very likely, which is
You
why
work for
it's good to
every
see that there's a
freaking
large
thing
resurgence in the
of
States
your life.
of
Nothing
workers'
is given
unions
out
coming back
free.
into fashion.
Multiple from the
Starbucks, Amazon,
government
Apple,
and the rurals.
everyone is fed up with the fact that they're not given the rights, the government isn't protecting them, and so people are demanding they protect themselves, forming unions and demanding the rights they deserve. How long did we have to put up with people clapping their hands for essential workers? And now that COVID is, for the most part, cut and dried, we're seeing people go, oh, well, you're not that essential, no pay raise for you. What do you want to get paid more than $15 to flip a burger? Well, considering the cost of living has gone up, yes. I think they do. It is really horrible that at the end of the day in the US, we have to fight for those basic freedoms at the bottom, but that's the case when people with a lot of money don't want things to change, and I don't think they do. Genuine question, do you think within our lifetime you will see the US government step in and provide these basic rights that every other country's citizens have had for many years? I'd like to be hopeful and say yes, but the way that most American politics is run by money, it's looking very doubtful. But regardless of your stance on these different types of leave me a comment. Tell me what your thoughts are. I'd love to hear from you in the comment section below. Or if you'd like, you can watch another research video over here on my channel. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you have a nice day. I am sweaty. I'll see you next Sunday. Goodbye.
I love him. He's so sarcastic.
Yeah. Telling you the ugly truth and the fact of it, while being jovial about it,
But to be honest, those rules in the US have to be, looked up, amended, and a lot of things just have to be.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, the people that have not and people that have, the ratio is the people that have little is way higher than the people that have.
Of course.
And
the thing is this, right? Before I advise somebody else to look into their country, I'll use this as a means to do a big shout out and tell my country to look into their own system.
ours is worse.
Worse.
Like,
Way
it's
worse.
terrible.
Let's be frank. Like I said,
Because
it is political.
Because even the pay he's talking about here, it cannot sustain a normal family, even an individual. Like the pay, not to talk of, forget all of these benefits, like the normal pay we receive and the inflation.
Check it. When was the last time you heard that a worker took a paid leave?
How? Yeah.
It does not happen. It does not happen. Do you understand? It is only those in political high powers, right, that get things like wardrobe change, travel allowances, blah blah
And
blah.
to think of it, even going to the allowances part.
That's what I'm saying. You can see that they told you that, okay, in that 28 days, you have paid holidays, sick days. Yeah, nothing.
We've actually explored the European kind of content, and especially the Germany, Poland, and the likes of those European nations. And I've got to understand that, according to what he said there, because I've had it somewhere else before, that they give you enough time to rest for a better, services. I feel like the European has their individual people like themselves at heart. Like they know you need rest as human, not work.
Just like they said about the Germans.
Yeah,
that they will force you to take a holiday.
Rest, yeah. They have better work system compared to the Americans.
Imagine if someone is tired and you're forcing him to work.
Not only tired, being inevitably sick, and you're coming to work.
The thing I find funny is that you need to take permission for your loved one to die. Like, how the fuck does that work? Is that not murder? Like, you have to plan it. You have to give them, okay, I gotta meet you. Sorry, sir, I just want to tell you that my grandpa is gonna die in the next 32 days.
Are you a prophet or something?
Like, what? How?
But yeah, to be honest, right? As a Nigerian, and our country is known as people actually going outside to seek greener pasture.
Yeah.
Growing up, people always travel to the US, but these days it has, I think, based on the US visa being so hard to get, it has been shifted to traveling to Europe. And saying they want to work benefit from these two parts of the world, I would choose the European nation compared to the American sense of workers' rights.
Please, Americans, do fix that. Let everyone have a voice. It is the land of the free and the home of the what?
Yeah, actually, he kept saying that land of the free very sarcastically to, Let us know what you think about this down below. You can share your experience down with us. Personally, I do not have experience with working because
I do a lot.
Yeah, I know you do. I just left college and I've not really had the opportunity. And come to think of it, even the opportunity to be in that government position or even getting a job is hard, like literally very hard.
Extremely
hard.
And that was an interim job. Oh.
Thank you. I have siblings that have left college for years, but there's no work. Not to talk of the benefit of having the job. We'll see you guys on our next one. Do not forget to like, subscribe to the channel. Love you guys, and bye.